about a lot of songs, how I can start this off. And like I was thinking about some Public Enemy, you know, like Fight the Power and everything else. Then I was thinking about 911. All right, but you know, I'm not even going to do that. We're going to get right into it with our guests and, you know, let you do your thing, Patrick. But man, and one thing that's special about this guest, it's like this law firm, it's like not unaffiliated, but what they say, unofficial partner. I'm the unofficial partner of the best law firm in the country in Southwest Florida.
You're a consultant?
You know, I just help get business, man, because they the best.
And what law firm is that?
I'm going to let him tell you what law firm that is.
Before we do that, let's pay some bills.
Let's pay some bills.
We're here at Studio 239, the hottest podcast studio, not only in Southwest Florida, but I think the country, the energy and the vibe that's going on from here.
I love it.
You can feel it. You can see it. A lot of people want to be a part of it or they want to take from it, but that's fine because, you know, if you want to try to poach from us, that means we're doing something right. It's all good. We had a great after hours VIP podcast built by Becker, Politicking, J’6er, Larry Love, Colombo. Had a good time in studio. That episode is just released out now. And Politicking, J’6er, Larry Love is brought to you by the good people at Tina D Agency, where you can get your taxes, insurance done. The best in the business. I've been going to her for about 13 years. Salons Energy, Eric Anita Carter. Style your hair up, trim your beard, whatever you want. DTA Naples, Petra, design your closet. Big shout out to Lee Corp Homes, largest manufacturer of carriage homes in Southwest Florida. 1973 they've been in business. Of course, Becker Custom Builders, who put this studio together. Blake's doing big things, so big shout out to Becker Custom Builders, the premier luxury home remodelers in Southwest Florida. Newest sponsor, Goodwin Law Firm, real estate law, probe, trust. Big shout out to Matt, just joined the team. We appreciate the support. Of course, Jeff Delaney, T Clinics USA, and the Viva Weight Loss. Get my testosterone delivered on Monday, so it's excited about that. Of course, Alda's Diner. You familiar with Alda's Diner? They got a Larry Love country fried steak plate on the menu, along with other great things. And the Martin Law Firm, divorce law firm, Naples, Collier, Lee, even in Tampa. Steve just came on our podcast, had a great time with Steve, and able to get to know him a little bit better at Burn. So I think we got everyone covered, Larry.
I think we do.
And the Alamo as well.
The Alamo.
Yeah, we're giving away some prizes, some gift cards to free shooting ranges at the Alamo.
Man. Now, let's get to this law firm. My law firm. This my favorite law firm. The law firm of all law firms. Listen, Renee, Scott, Connor, and my main man, Colombo, Mike, you know, those guys, man, they go at the feds. These boys like to fight the feds. You got to be a tough cookie. You got to be a smart cookie.
Let's clear this up. What is the percentage rate that the feds win? I've heard anywhere from 90 to 98%.
And he used to be a fed, so
Pat, let me tell you something. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on. I want to say thank you for having me on the show. I'm just honored and blessed. I've been doing this for over 24 years. I was a former Fed. 3 years with the Department of Homeland Security. I was a special agent with ICE. 17 years total law enforcement, 7 years private practice representing people wrongfully accused, people who are just, you know, people may have just had a bad day, things like that. So I don't know where to start other than they don't lose.
Yeah.
They're like 99%.
That number's real, huh?
It's crazy. I mean, when I was a federal agent, I would give the U.S. attorney cases that I had on wiretap. I had literal recordings of the crime that had happened, and they would turn it down based upon political reasons. And one of those reasons was, and I worked during the Obama administration, so it was completely different than the Trump administration. Completely. It's like night and day. Mm-hmm. They would turn down immigration fraud and marriage fraud, anything that dealt with immigration. because it was too much of a political hot topic.
Before we move on forward, who are you? Because we didn't get your name.
Michael Colombo. I'm one of the lawyers at that firm at Suarez, Rios, and Weinberg. We got Jimmy Rios, Scott Weinberg, Renee Suarez, and of course, my main man, Connor Martin. I call him Boy Wonder. He's young.
What up, Connor?
He is very hungry. He's a great lawyer. So, but the rest of us have all been practicing for about 20 years or more. We take it serious. We go to war for our clients. Absolutely. Because when the government throws the weight of the government on anybody, that's enormous.
Mm-hmm.
So their percentage rate is, when I was a federal agent, they would take cases that were basically confessions on video, on audio. They did not want to lose. Anything that was difficult, they punted to the state.
What percentage of time do you win?
Oh, gosh. I mean, me as a right now, working defense, well, I don't want to jinx it, but my trial rate is I'm 100% right now.
Wow.
Right now. So I've been
Lucky. Batting 1,000.
I've been lucky. I mean, I've been lucky.
How did they find you? Because a lot of people are watching. How do I get this guy? How did they find you?
Well, hey, we're on the, we're on, just look us up online.
Okay.
Google us. Suarez, Rios, and Weinberg. Look at Mike Colombo. That's me. But our law firm, we're a team. We're 5 of us, and we bounce everything off each other. And if you hire one, you're going to hire all of us because we just nonstop.
Y'all represented Larry Wilcoxon, didn't you?
I don't. That's privileged. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't mean any disrespect in asking this. Which case?
You're so stupid.
I really don't. He won them all though. Never convicted. So.
Because I'm innocent. I just talk a lot of noise, man.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Like,
1,000%.
And that's the one biggest. That's the misnomer that people have is they think just because you're arrested, you did something.
Yeah, in America, I feel like you're guilty and proven innocent. And even if you are, once that stigma,
you hit.
It's a black eye, and a lot of times people do not recover from that. So I think that's very unfortunate.
You're absolutely right. Because if you let people tell it, like, I never knew him. I was a convicted felon, but they say Larry Wilcoxon is a convicted felon.
Yeah, I've heard you did some crazy stuff.
No, he's not.
I'm like, okay, I'm a convicted felon then.
I know I heard you do all this crazy stuff. I'm like, shoot, where was I? I know this guy for 15 years. And
but that's funny. But
we'll leave it to the haters. And then we'll get to our other guest, Mr. Morschel. But real quick, I got to know you through Larry. Because like I told Larry is with you, I'm with you, but then I got a chance to know you and really, really get behind you as well. You ran for district judge in 2024, right? I guess this last election cycle.
Summer,
talk to us a little bit about that.
Great experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never done it before. Hope to do it again. At some point, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what the cards bring. But it was a great experience. I got to meet a lot of wonderful people. So Florida is a nonpartisan state, so it's very different when you're running for circuit judge than when you're running for another position out there. But it was a great experience. Got to meet great people. And the one thing I loved about it was I got to talk about the law. So I'm kind of I'm a nerd when it comes to that.
And let me tell you something. You were one of the people that got in that really didn't have a name because you weren't in politics, but you worked so hard and had a strong presence and ground game. You really got your name out there and made a real dent. So I think you're going to be a force to reckon with. Maybe you'll need a social media guy next time you run. I know a guy you can call. I'm sure you'll have Larry on your team as well. So I think you're set up for success.
He jumped in that race very late.
Very late too. Yeah.
I don't like to lose. Right, Mike?
No, I know. Hey, 4%. You lose 4%. It's a good race, especially when you're going up against an incumbent who's been there 18 years, been around a long time. She is extremely smart, just a phenomenal person. So I remember right after losing the race, I called her up. So we have a good relationship, and
that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean
that's the way it should be.
Because we're there for the law. That we're there for the law. We're there to fight for the Constitution, and that's really what it's all about. So I love the law, and that's why I did it. And we'll see.
They say if you fight the law wins, though, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they say?
We hope for justice, my friend.
We hope for justice, absolutely. And been a long time coming that we wanted to bring you in studio, so we're very grateful and honored that you joined us. But you said, hey, if I come today, I wanted to bring a guest. So
Yeah.
I'm going to let you introduce our other guest today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is he is one of our hardest we've fought. I mean, we fight for all our clients hard. This one was, I'll let him explain it more. This one was a fight, the entire weight of the federal government versus him. I mean, it was literally a heavyweight fight, and we went in there, and our firm, I mean, Scott Weinberg was up there, Connor Martin, and they put the whole weight of the federal government on this poor man, and he was from January 6th, and in our opinion, he did absolutely nothing wrong, nothing whatsoever that would warrant the charges, that would warrant what happened to him. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. David Morschel, who has gone through a life-changing experience.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
No, you got
Thanks
a
for
heck of a
having me.
story to tell, so why not tell it here?
Yeah. Well, so basically, it all started back in 2020. You remember when there were all the riots and the burnings and all that kind of stuff, and people were invading neighborhoods and attacking residents and stuff like that. You remember Mark McCluskey? He and his wife were standing out front of the house when this whole violent mob came by,
guns.
right? You remember that? Yeah. So, and actually, I was on Mark's show here recently, so that was kind of cool. He called me. But so it all started back then, and so I'm a Christian minister. I'm a seminary trained, a crisis chaplain. I'm also a medical worker. I'm a neuroscience researcher. So I don't have any law enforcement background. I don't have any like military experience. And I was watching these riots come down from like Tampa and then Sarasota, and then to where I am, it's just Venice and then Northport, and they're on me. And so I was thinking, how am I going to protect my family if these people start coming and invading my neighborhood? What am I going to do? I live in a retirement area. There's a lot of retired folks, and I'm thinking, what are my friends, my elderly friends across the street? What are they going to do? So I was seeing that the Oath Keepers were protecting people. They had groups around the country, and I thought, well, now's the time to go ahead and try to get involved with these kind of people, so if something comes to my neighborhood, I can call them, and then they can come and help me out. So that's originally how I got involved with the Oath Keepers.
Okay.
And then from there, I was put into the group, the Florida Oath Keeper group, on December 19th, just 18 days before January 6th. So I didn't know who these people were. But they found out that I was a medical worker. They needed medical help, and they said, hey, can you come up to the Washington, D.C. for this Trump rally and help us out with the medical response?
Okay.
So 3 days before January 6th, I agreed to go, and it's changed my life forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a day that will forever be etched in history. To talk to us about that, Dan, you get up there on the day before, the day of.
So we got there the day before,
Okay.
and I thought, hey, this will be interesting because we'll be doing like security. I've never done anything like that before. Again, I'm not in police, I'm military or anything like that. I thought, well, this might be cool. So we were, as a group, we were gonna do some security for some rally, permitted rally that they had for Roger Stone was gonna be there and some other things, and so they were like, all right, now spread out into the crowd and just kind of whatever. It was complete boring. I was like, what is this, a waste of time? Like, what am I doing here? This is just stupid, honestly. I just thought, this is stupid.
Right.
And so we're, after that, that was the day before, and then we go back, and then we're getting ready, and then we leave early in the morning to go back into the DC where the ellipse is, where the rally is. And then again, the wheels just started falling off because first they said, well, we're going to get you into VIP area. And then it was like an hour and a half, and like they couldn't get it worked out where we could even get into the rally. And then they said, well, we're going to be helping Secret Service. I know that sounds stupid, but that's what they said, right? I mean, what would the Secret Service need for people like us, right? I mean,
although you probably could have done a better job than they did protecting Trump in Butler, PA.
That's a nightmare.
My kids could have done a better job.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have spotted someone on the roof and said that could be a problem, but I digress.
Well, the thing is that they did spot the people there did spot the shooter. and they were reporting it, and nobody did anything about it.
I know that could be a whole show getting into that, but
Yeah.
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So we finally get in there, and then whoa, surprise! The Secret Service doesn't need our help. Like, okay. So then we're just sitting there, and again, people say, well, why did you even go there at all?
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me ask you a question. In hindsight, would you be gone again?
oh no,
Okay.
absolutely.
But that's an honest answer. But I appreciate, because most people are like, yeah, I went there for a reason.
Jail make you think twice.
Yeah, but that's an honest answer. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. First of all, to the question of why did you even go? That's like it's called hindsight bias. In other words, we say hindsight is 20/20,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So it's like people are looking at January 6th, the riot and all that kind of stuff and all the things. Why did you even go? This was just supposed to be another Trump rally.
Right, basically.
Trump had numerous large rallies up until that point. The Million MAGA March, where they had 1 million people in D.C. in December.
Yeah.
And nobody was hurt. There was no riotous. 4 people were stabbed by black clad people. 4 Proud Boys were stabbed. But there was no big insurrection or anything. That nobody knew January 6th would be January 6th.
Of course. Well, yeah. I don't think so. I don't think there'd probably be some people up there were hoping maybe for some chaos, but I really believe the majority of people that went up there were going to peacefully, support Trump, rally, whatever you want to call it. Do you think January 6th was an inside job?
Oh, for sure.
And what makes you say that, and why?
Well, we have numerous video of Capitol Police. They have the little bicycle racks.
Yeah.
They're pulling the bicycle racks away, waving people into the restricted area. We have video of Capitol Police officers opening the doors and waving people in. Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, the guy with the horns, right? So Tucker Carlson did a great expose on him, and the Capitol Police were walking him around the Capitol, opening the doors for him, and basically showing him around.
So the government basically wanted that chaos to kind of make President Trump, still at the time, and his supporters look crazy. Do you think this is just, this would be a guess or your opinion, that they expected the kind of chaos that would come in letting people in? Like they saw it, going into the Capitol and storming the Capitol?
I think they hoped for more.
They hoped for more.
I think they hoped for more death and destruction.
Let me ask Larry this, because you were there that day, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about being on the other side of things, because you were there with Congressman Donalds. And I know
He was on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Lone or Kennon, one of them. And
what's going through your head as all this is going down?
man, listen, all I can remember is when the police was banging on the door, we're under attack. Run. We got to run.
There was panic.
It was pandemonium. Say we under attack. And it's like, we in D.C. So my mind thinking, first thing I thought,
Terrorists.
yeah, foreign. Come to find out it's domestic. But then when you get down in the tunnels, we're looking at the news to try to see what's going on. And they saying like, there's nothing going on. That's why I hate the media to the day. But to look back on it, and you see police officers that actually was beaten. Me personally, I couldn't been one of those police officers. It would have been a massacre. Like, you're not going to hurt me. My job is to protect.
Mm-hmm.
I knew some of the police officers. I asked some of the police officers. They said what they said, like they tried to create a diversion to try to let people, what he said, like they open the things to try to get people to flow a certain way.
And then
to keep people a certain way. It was almost strategic.
mm-hmm.
So, I understand that
organized chaos in a way, yeah.
I won't say organized chaos, but to keep people away from a certain area.
Mm-hmm.
That's if they didn't know the Capitol. But apparently they all knew the Capitol. But I mean, I was afraid because I didn't know. But I would have defended myself, whoever it was. But once I got in that tunnel, man, again, I was just
afraid. Do you think it was an inside job?
I can't say that. It's just a lot of stuff just really don't make sense.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff don't make sense at all. It don't. Now, I do have a problem with the way some of those individuals was treated. Like, you get people who just came in there peacefully, walking around. They're pretty much a trespassing. You pretty much, you can hit them with a trespassing. And these people been in jail 7, 8 a year, 18 months.
You're trespassing in government, and
it's their
capital
house. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have the right to be there. But I didn't understand, like, the time period and everything
they
else.
made an
Like,
example out of people.
you cannot make an example out of people for that long.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what they did.
So, and now it's like, and this is just me speaking. This is me speaking. Because, you know, I grew up with problematic cops. But I always respect cops. I respect authority. Now, if you do something to an officer, period, you got to pay the price. Bottom line.
Normally.
You pay the price. Because I know people who did stuff to officers and they still locked up now.
But Tim will tell you.
Bottom line.
Most cases, yes. And I'll say a lot of it, I think, unfortunately, has to do with the race you are. But Tim will tell you that he's been spit on, he's been assaulted, and people have gotten off as well, too. So
again, we know.
I'm just talking
where I grew up at. Like, man, if you did something to the officer,
you're going away.
You're going away.
While.
So don't do nothing to the officer.
Sure.
Do we get mad when we see officers get away with stuff? Yeah. Do we get mad when we see other people? Because honestly, when all the J6ers that actually was violent towards the police officers was free,
we're gonna go.
It didn't sit well with a lot of people in my community.
So,
and I'm just gonna leave that at that.
Yeah.
And it don't sit well with me because if I would have did it, if I don't like this police officer for whatever reasons, whether political, whatever, I did something to him, they're gonna put my butt in jail.
Yeah.
And I need to be in jail if I did something to the officer. So I should know better.
So when we're kind of skipping a little bit, but so you can go talk about that day, what went on the 6th and what you saw. Did you see a lot of people or certain individuals attacking police officers?
No, when I got to the Capitol, now when we were walking to the Capitol, we had heard that the Capitol was already broken into. We had heard that there was a gunshot. There were gunshots. Someone was killed. Of course, we know that was Ashley Babbitt. Now we could hear booming sounds in the background, which we know was the concussion grenades that the Capitol Police were launching into the crowd. Right, 2 men died of heart attacks when the concussion grenades landed right in front of them. But when we got up there, we went up on the east side, and I was told that I would be a part of a medical response because the emergency room physician that was with the Oath Keepers was treating a bunch of people. He was treating police officers. He was sending people to the hospital, and he needed help. And so it was my turn to step up and to help them. So we came up on the east side, and you know what I saw when we came to the east side? Now, I've never been to a riot before, so maybe you can help me, all right? I walked up there. Now, there were no barricades or anything like that. By this time, nobody knows who it was, but a group of people removed all the barricades, and they were never caught, never prosecuted. So barricades are all gone. Nobody knows you're trespassing, right? But when I got up there and I looked at the steps, you know what I saw? I saw a bunch of people singing the national anthem to help me out. Because have you been to a riot before?
Not that I recall.
Is that a riot? I don't know. It didn't look like a riot to me.
So that sounds like First Amendment to me.
So they're singing the national. There's nothing there's no real alarm bells going off in my mind. Like this is a problem, right? So my understanding is the Oathkeeper medics outside the doorway. So we go up the stairs. Well, it's a huge crowd. So we put our hands on each other. That's the only way to stay together. We put our hands on the person in front of you, and you kind of burst your way through the crowd. Well, that was, Mike, the infamous stack formation that went up the Capitol stairs. That the media just loved this. They just loved that military. And they called it practiced military formation. I mean, like, give me a break. I mean, five-year-olds do this at the playground.
Go ahead.
I want to just jump in for a second. I want to just clarify something. When we were talking earlier about my winning percentage, I said 100. I was joking. Everybody loses at some point in time, right? I just wanted to make that clear. It's been 100% in the last couple of years. I've been fortunate, but overall, it's been I've had a very good winning percentage as a trial lawyer. And the reason why is because when you have a fair system, right? and the jury gets to decide on the facts, and the judge is the umpire calling the balls and strikes and does it fairly, the juries get it right all the time. That's in my opinion. They really do, because they could see what's going on. What happened to David Morschel, I don't think the jury got to see everything that was really going on because of how that trial was run. I was in constant communication with Scott Weinberg, who was the lead attorney on that every day.
And that was in Lee County?
No, that was, his trial was in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, we were in D.C.
In D.C. So we were talking every day. But we also represented, and we still do, Austin Harris, Dr. Austin Harris. His story, and David, you don't know Austin, right? I don't think that you've never met Dr. Harris. Is that right?
That's correct.
You're from Charlotte.
Yes.
So Dr. Harris is from California. And he has a very similar story. He was actually the one who tried to save Ashley Babbitt's life.
Okay.
So what David was talking about what he was seeing, what he was hearing, Austin Harris was right next to Ashley Babbitt. He actually saw her get shot by the Capitol Police. That, as far as I'm concerned, that was murder, the way that happened.
Sure.
He, as a former federal agent myself, I think I can make this comment. He was not in fear for his life. She was behind a barricade. There were people behind her with guns. There was a whole bunch of law enforcement. She didn't have to be shot. Did not. After she was shot, Austin Harris ran up to try to give her life-saving medical treatment. He was denied. Nobody would help. Nobody.
Who was he denied by?
The Capitol Police.
Okay.
So they just dragged her body away like a sack of potatoes, is how he described it. Just dragged her away. Nothing to see here, and had that person not got the recording of it or whatever, however that came out, we never may have seen what happened.
Right.
She was literally dragged out the back like, don't look here. That was kind of the whole sentiment about it. But the government did not put a single thing in their arrest warrant. And this is the thing that the fight for the Constitution, the fight for truth and justice, they could skew facts. Okay, they could marshal evidence a certain way. With Dr. Harris, they did not put in any of the facts that were favorable to him, such as him trying to save someone's life by going up to her. He wasn't, okay, you want to hit him for trespass? The government there threatened him if he did not plead to what he was being offered. They were going to hit him with the same charges that they hit David Morschel with, or Morschel. I'm sorry, they hit the same exact charges. So he had to do that because he's a doctor. He wanted to keep his medical license. He pled to a misdemeanor. Thankfully, he got a full pardon a couple months ago. But that's for later in the topic. But
How long after was the arrest warrant issued for you after J6?
July 2nd.
Okay.
I turned myself in.
When was, do you know when you were actually charged?
Well, July 2nd is when I had the
warrant
2021.
came. Okay.
Yeah.
David, how many months was that afterward?
It's like 6 months.
So Dr. Harris's was about 18 months later.
Wow. And I know someone that like 4 years later
Yeah.
actually.
So they waited. They were just, as far as I'm concerned, it was a stat thing. They wanted to see how many people they could get for whatever reasons they were trying to do. And I think, David, you could speak to this more because you were there. Scott was texting me while this was happening, but tell him a little bit about the jury selection. I've never seen a jury selection. It wouldn't happen in Florida.
And DC obviously is a more liberal.
Everything's federal in DC, so
Yeah. But
it's not fair.
I think when you hear this fact, your mind's gonna be blown because our governor in our state would never allow this.
Yeah.
We just wouldn't allow it. They asked what political party you were. What does that have to do with justice?
Shouldn't that get thrown out? Isn't that one of those things when you question a juror and you ask them certain questions and right?
I don't know.
Would that be?
I don't know because when I was in jury selection, they asked, what's your education level?
Okay.
What's your economic status?
Okay.
Your financial status?
Did they come out and ask you what your political party was?
But what's the difference from asking a person what their education status is and their financial status?
It should have nothing to do.
It should not have nothing to do with any of that. no political, no finance, none of that. It's just, but yeah, that's crazy because it really was one side versus another side in that case.
I think he knows the number, Larry. Do you know the number of people that said they were?
There were 150 people that were interviewed, and I think it was 148 said they were registered Democrats, and the other two misunderstood the question and marked it wrong and said they were Republicans. We had one guy that came in, and the defense asked him, "Have you ever heard of Alex Jones? Alex Jones, InfoWars, right?" Yeah. And at that time, Alex Jones was in the middle of the Parkland, the Parkland shooting trial thing, where that whole thing.
Yep.
And so they were right in the middle of that. So one of the defense attorneys says, "Do you know who Alex Jones is?" And the man says, "Alex Jones? No, never heard of him before." And they had gotten on his Facebook account. And on his Facebook account, this juror said, "I hope Alex Jones, dies and goes to hell and rots to hell and all this kind of." I mean, he absolutely had it out for Alex Jones. He lied on the stand during his jury selection. So the majority of people, the Washington D.C. residents were polled. Do you feel that you are a victim of January 6th?
That's
and
right.
The vast majority of the Washington, D.C. people felt that they were victims.
That's what they said, too.
So you're right. That's the second thing that would never happen here in the state of Florida is the victims of the crime get to be the jurors. No way. Doesn't happen. And the political party of the juror doesn't happen. We're not allowed to ask that. I've never seen a single ever in the state of Florida where the judge or the prosecutor or the defense gets to ask what political party. I've never seen that before, ever. So that's getting back to my point about is juries get it right. I really I have faith in the jury system when the trial's fair, when the balls and strikes are fair, when it's fair for both sides. When you skew something like they did to David, it's not fair. It just wasn't.
So Matthew Peed was a defense attorney.
Yeah.
And during our trial, so there was four men that were on trial. Matthew Peed said he works in Washington, D.C., in the court system there. And he says the D.C. court system, jurors usually find the defendant guilty 56% of the time. So of 56% of the charges, they're found guilty, but the rest they're not found guilty of. And Matthew Peed made the point that it was something like 96% of the charges for January 6th, the defendants were found guilty. So you can see that this is not the normal. There's something not normal with the jury pool over January 6th.
Man, that's jury pool selection, period. Let me ask you with your jury selection, because I don't know what your jury selection were like. Did you feel like your jury you selected was of your peers?
No.
How did that make you feel?
Not good. I mean, I don't feel safe. I mean, I still don't feel safe.
Because, just thinking about everything you said, you sitting there, pretty much everybody on the jury is all Democrats. And I probably want to say about 7 or 8 probably was black.
May have been more.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They probably was, I wouldn't say indigent, but I just know that they wasn't of your peers. And, and I always say that's one of the biggest problems in America, even with the Constitution. And I know we're talking about you. I remember I had to go to trial. They asked me why I wasn't smiling on a Grand Theft Auto.
Who asked you that?
The prosecutor.
Oh.
Prosecutor asked me why I wasn't smiling.
Ooh.
Huh.
Bad call there.
And I said, why should I smile? I'm sitting here, I give y'all my bank receipts, the keys, everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. So then I look at the jury. At this time, I'm 30? Whatever. So I'm about 31, 32. Everybody on my jury was probably 3 times my age, like 80, 90, wealthy, all white. Yeah. No one of my peers looking like me of my status. Only thing about it was I probably had more education than everybody up there, but other than that, They didn't
Yeah.
look nothing like
Yeah.
me or from my background or nothing. And I think that's something that needs to change in America. They really need to have jury of your peers. Otherwise,
So
it's not good.
two elements of the Constitution, when they are the Declaration of Independence, two elements had to do with trial. So they were deporting people back to England for trial. And then there was another element of the Declaration of Independence that had to do with being tried in the United States. But if you read, there's the reasons why they're declaring independence. Two of those elements had to do with unfair trials. And when I was actually taken prisoner, I got to know a lot of the people there, and it became so apparent to me the injustice in the justice system and how much the prosecutors, they lie, they cheat, they falsify evidence. If you go to on our website, we have www.davidisinnocent.com. You can see the video of me in the Capitol, all 11 minutes. A spoiler alert, it's boring, okay? So you're going to have to fast forward because I didn't do anything because there's no riotous conditions. But there's also some information about how, for example, Cowboy Logic did a segment on how in the first Oath Keeper trial, the prosecution corrupted evidence, a key piece of evidence about the Oath Keeper conduct in the Small House Rotunda. That evidence was corrupted. They cut it off before it could be any benefit to us. And then also Steve Baker has done some segments on how he alleges that David Lazarus, who was a Capitol police officer, lied on the stand during the first Oath Keeper trial. How Harry Dunn, the brave Harry Dunn, who now is a published author, lied. He alleges, Steve Baker alleges that Harry Dunn also lied when he was on trial in the first Oath Keeper trial. All that's on davidisinnocent.com.
See, that's what I don't understand. I think just because somebody put on a uniform or a robe, that make them honest. And trustworthy.
And that's my number one question I ask people is, just because they wear a uniform, could they make a mistake? And those are questions, those basic questions were not allowed to be asked in David's trial in Washington, D.C. because the judge controlled the jury selection. And if you wanted to ask a question, you had to put a note. David, correct me if I'm wrong, because Scott told me you had to put it in writing and send it to the judge. And then the judge had to approve if that question was going to be asked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, during jury selection, there was 100 questions or something like that. It was a long questionnaire, and the prosecution and the defense had to go back and forth, and the judge had to finally approve it. It was
one thing I do remember about your trial, though, stand out. And I was in D.C. with Scott during the time because he was so yeah. His opening, or was it his closing, when he quoted Chris Brown?
The Chris Brown?
Yeah, the singer Chris Brown in his trial, and it went viral. Now I do remember that about your case.
Yeah, Scott had some pretty good ones.
Scott was coming, man.
So this one, my favorite comment about Scott. So they read the prosecutors were like, "Oh, look, this is where I can't remember. It was some older gentleman, right? He's this older guy." And he was like, okay, let me get it right. So we're going to go up on Wednesday. We're going to be in D.C. on Wednesday. We're going to do the rally on Thursday. And then we're going to be back on Friday, right? And so that was the actual thing that this Oath Keeper older gentleman said. And and they were trying to make it look like, see, these guys they're planning to come and overthrow the government. And so Scott gets up there and he questions the FBI agent. He's like, so what you're telling me is these guys, this little ragtag group of older gentlemen, who have no military experience, they went up there. They were saying, we're going to go up on Wednesday, or we're going to go up on Tuesday. We're going to take over the government on Thursday, and we'll be back to work on Friday. Like, is that what you're saying? And of course, even the jury laughed at that. It was hilarious.
And some of Scott's quotes, though, I have to say, he ran them by me and ran them by Renee. And the best one that we all came up with collectively, I don't know if Scott's taking all the credit, was in your closing argument, Twitter fingers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. David's guilty of being Twitter fingers. Because, let's face it.
So is President Trump, right?
Well, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we don't have too much time left, so I want a couple cover a couple other things. So you were commuted by
Yes.
President Trump. You weren't pardoned.
That's correct.
I will let my counsel describe the difference between the pardon and a commute and why, possibly.
The why part's is gonna be hard to answer right now because I still think that there's a lot more facts that
some
are
of the
that-
people that allegedly assaulted the Capitol Police were given a full pardon.
Yeah. So
I'm confused.
the commuting just means that he's no longer. There's no jail. There's no more prison. There's no more probation. Nothing. It goes away in terms of his sentence is done. He's already served it. Commuting means it's finished. There's no more sentence to be served, but he's still convicted. The pardon is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
That forgives, and that's what Dr. Harris got, and that's one of the things we worked on. And we sent the packet in, and within, I want to say 6 hours of Trump taking office, we had probably sent that packet in through the pardon. And we had waited because we were afraid. There was a whole bunch of us lawyers afraid that it was going to get lost if we put it in while the other administration was there. So we all waited, for about an hour or two after he was put in office, and then we all emailed.
Yeah.
With 6 hours later, everybody got a pardon. And we got an email back.
Yeah.
But he was commuted.
And how long were you sentenced for?
3 years in prison
Mm-hmm.
and 3 years probation.
Okay. So, and when were you sentenced?
June 2nd, something like that, of 2023.
2023. So you basically had like a year or two left on your sentence.
Yes.
Okay. How was jail like? Prison?
It was terrible,
Yeah.
actually. Have you ever heard of punishment rations? Oh, you're laughing. You know what punishment rations are.
Oh, geez.
Punishment rations are when somebody else,
Does
some
something
other,
wrong.
does something wrong, and they cut the food of everybody else in the prison. So, I mean, we were on lockdown. There was a stretch of, I think, 3 months where we were on lockdown. We probably, I have it all written down, but just like a few days that we were allowed out over like a 3-month period. I got down, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I got down to 149 pounds,
Wow.
which is bad. I mean, it was terrible, honestly. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I was hearing, man. I heard the way they was doing you all. I really felt bad for you all. Like, nobody should be treated that way. It don't even matter. A person guilty or innocent, you don't treat them another
No,
way.
you don't.
Right.
No.
It
It's
seems
just
like
not
they're
right.
A harsh example of. And I want a couple more questions for Mr. Colombo before we wrap up, because we have Mr. Chris Brown. We got to get the studio ready for him too. But what do you think about the Diddy trial?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
No.
I get that's a tough
I know
one.
every lawyer I asked that they seem like they don't want to.
That's a tough one. I mean, I don't
Because
know.
you're not involved in it, so
I don't know all.
I'm not
the,
asking necessarily,
I don't
give
know.
a prediction or just what you know of it.
I don't know all the facts.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's something I don't think the public knows either. I don't think the public knows all. The only people that truly know the facts are the
confused 'cause
lawyers.
Have you ever heard of
case.
a one-man RICO?
No.
That don't exist.
No.
I keep
Because
telling people
RICO
that.
is multiple people.
You
right?
gotta have
Racketeering.
multiple.
So
Yeah, when I was a federal agent, we didn't RICO one person.
Diddy's off the chain. He's doing one-man RICOs and freak-offs, and wow, he's in
The only
another.
RICO I remember back then was RICO Suave.
Yeah.
That's it, and it was a one-person thing. So I've never seen a RICO with with one person be tried. I've never seen that before.
Okay.
But sometimes they think of new ways to do things. You know,
Or they have more people possibly waiting in the wings.
That's called wasting. That's called wasting the tax dollars.
That is. And what's your opinion, though? $50 million bail that he was denied because, that's almost kind of unheard of because they've let.
Eighth Amendment.
yeah, I think that's a constitutional violation.
Yeah.
Just because someone can do something doesn't mean they should. And I think that's the common sense that we've lost a little bit over. Now I'm 53 years old and I've seen this for a long time. If everybody just goes back to the basics of the Constitution, everything would be just so much better. It just really would. Just because the law is expanded, they want to subvert it to make it fit their own case. And you could do that with just about anything.
Of course.
And
Do you think, again, I probably haven't followed it close enough and you don't have to comment on it, but does it seem like he's being made, whether an example of or pissed off someone along the line? Because it seems like, because basically what they're saying he's doing is
I don't see no
freak
evidence.
offs, baby oils, and the Cassie thing, but that's a whole separate thing. And you don't.
That's
send
what they
someone
brought up.
You don't send someone to federal prison and
No.
deny him $50 million bail for throwing, as terrible as that was. So I'm just trying to help me understand what.
I'm waiting on the evidence.
Yeah.
On what I'm like, because they brought up the Cassie thing when he beat her,
Yeah. They
and
brought-
which all that got resolved.
And how did that get leaked?
Everything get leaked.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, it's fat, and I think the trial starts here coming up. And I don't know if you saw, Larry, Mace is dropping a album the day of Diddy's. Yeah, it's called.
Man, people try to make money all type of ways.
You know what it's called? The album. Now we're even.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
Very hardcore. Yeah, I
That
mean,
is hardcore.
That is hardcore. What's your favorite thing about being a lawyer?
The fight.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is because you're going to court for the search for justice, search for truth, and you hope it happens. You really got to hope it happens. And if it's a fair playing field, it usually does. It really does. It balances out. I mean,
Can I ask you a question? You don't have to answer, but have you ever taken a case where the person is guilty and, use my words careful, but guilty of a harsh crime, and you still represented them because you felt like it was your duty to represent them?
No, it's your job. You got to. You
yeah.
lose your license.
That's your that's the
I'm
Constitution.
trying to-
I mean, we all do that. Every one of us swear that.
Or
oath.
if you took a client and then more you get into like, shit, this guy really did this, but at that point, have you ever removed yourself from?
not not the one that I could think of.
Yeah.
Because you have a client consult, and if they don't like what I have to say, then maybe they don't hire me. But I'm going to be real with them. So I could I've never had that issue with some of my cases. I've never gotten off for a moral reason, because of something that came up during it. So I'm
And then we got to go ahead. I'm sorry.
Didn't Diddy's attorney quit?
He's on number 6.
I think just recently.
He's
I
on
heard
number-
he says there's no way I can continue to
It
represent.
makes you wonder.
That's
too,
crazy.
I
There's
don't know.
something's going on.
Something's off.
Yeah.
Were their practices threatened? Like, don't represent.
That's-
He's
yeah,
on
that's
lawyer
what-
number 6. Yeah, I'm telling you,
I'm glad you brought that up, all of you, because that's a good point. A lot of lawyers are afraid to go up against the government, and a lot of lawyers are afraid of what it's going to look like and the fallout to their practice. And that's a real fear, because people got to feed their family, right? They do. And
I mean, you got a business and a livelihood to run, and you go no bigger, in the government. You don't have to comment on this; just up to you. The Carmine situation. Do you think, if you don't want to comment, we're going to go to rapid fire then?
no,
that's fine. That's
yeah.
fine. All right, so we play this little game called Rapid Fire, where you got to pick one or the other. Pick both. We'll call you a Democrat. We don't want that, right? Even though judge is nonpartisan, right?
I'm not a judge, so
Well, I'm saying run again, so we don't know your party affiliation.
nope,
Right?
we don't.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Duncan. Hands down.
Boy, I got stumped you.
Starbucks.
Okay. Run DMC or Beastie Boys?
Oh, Beastie Boys.
Oof. I know you're a
Yeah.
minister, so all right, these are gonna be some legal ones. Rainmaker or Michael Clayton? The Rainmaker or Michael Clayton?
I think-
I'm gonna pique your interest. You can chime in on these two.
It's Matt Damon. Remember Matt Damon?
That's a great movie. That was a young Matt Damon.
Yeah.
I didn't catch your pick.
Matt
Rainmaker.
Rainmaker. Yeah.
Oh.
Philadelphia or A Time to Kill?
Oh, A Time to Kill.
That easy over
I was
Philadelphia?
gonna say that's a tough
Well, Philadelphia
one.
is a good one too, but I mean,
Both.
God.
that's
Time
a
to Kill's powerful. I mean,
it's
Philadelphia's
powerful.
on its own.
I don't think that that's
Or
a
Just
movie.
Mercy.
Hmm?
Or Just Mercy.
Oh.
But Just Mercy more true, but I love Just Mercy. I read the book,
Yeah.
and I kind of felt like it was me and Just Mercy.
Philadelphia's a great movie too.
Philadelphia
Don't
is
get me
great.
wrong. It's
It's
excellent.
written
movie.
well.
Yeah.
It's
The-
the tones of what happened in A
storyline.
Time to Kill.
Time
It's
to-
just it's something, because I'm a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a dad. So maybe I'm a little biased there.
A Few Good Men or The Firm?
A Few Good Men.
You.
Yeah. Okay. And then we'll go into a little bit of the music. Well, how about Matlock or Perry Mason?
How about Colombo?
How about Colombo?
The guy from back then. I would go with Matlock.
Yeah, Matlock was a great show.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains or Nirvana?
Nirvana.
STP or Pearl Jam?
Pearl Jam.
Said you're a big Pearl Jam.
I
guy.
love
What's your favorite Pearl Jam song?
Oh God. So many years
You
ago.
got Black and Even Flow. Jeremy.
Even Flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a college wrestler, I listened to Even Flow, and I went in the gym and I hit that hard.
Yeah.
I was, I want to go back to those days.
I
had
have a
muscles.
question.
I used to look like Larry. Larry's got muscles. I used to,
I'm a fat boy. I've got fat boy problems.
Get the popcorn muscles.
Do you think Johnny Cochran is the best criminal defense attorney of all time?
he's one of my idols, I got to say.
He's definitely one of mine, too.
You know, the guy who was the guy under him though, and then he took over his firm when he passed away. I was just watching
It was several individuals.
I know,
like,
but it was one, and he represented a lot of.
my friend Marwin, he was working up under Cochran. Marvin Porter.
There's
He just passed away, I think.
a Florida lawyer that I went to school with his son. His name is Willie Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Out of
Amazing.
St. Lucie.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Amazing lawyer.
He started suing the big chains.
So he is like Johnny Cochran. The only difference is he didn't have the OJ case, but he is just like Johnny Cochran.
He sued Marlboro.
Yep.
He sued all those big
company.
companies.
Yep.
Wings of Justice.
Yes,
got
that's
two
his-
airplanes.
That's his plane.
I had a chance to meet him. Like,
You did?
he came to the ABA in Houston. When I was in law school, he came out there. I had a chance to meet with him. I've also met Billy Martin. Now, when I met Billy Martin gave me 15 minutes of his time. That's one of the highlights ever when I was in law school. Billy Martin, if you think about Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, Billy Martin was on that. So it was like, I was like, man, you the guy. And he just gave me a lot of words of encouragement and everything else. I always liked him. But at the same time, I had a chance to meet Willie Gary. I met him a couple of times and then met some of his understudies. I worked closely with some of his understudies.
Governor Scott or Governor DeSantis? Better governor, Florida governor.
Oh, that's a tough
Yeah,
question.
that's-
I love them
that
both.
usually
I
gets-
think they're
I get
both
it. I get
amazing.
it.
They're just amazing.
In different ways, two different styles.
They care about the people. So that's what I'm looking at. Who's caring about the people, who's taking care of the people. So that's I couldn't really pick one or the other. I think they're both excellent.
All right, so you're a Democrat. Thanks for establishing. No. What do you think about Casey DeSantis possibly running for governor?
Oh, it's that would be interesting. I don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly don't, so I couldn't really comment. I mean, obviously we know what her husband's done. Her husband's amazing. So I don't know. I'm really interested to see who pulls in these races in the next
How many people do you
6
think
months.
will be in the governor race before it's all said and done? Or you think people
Four.
are going to be scared off because
Four.
Four people? Tucker or Hannity?
Tucker.
I agree.
Tucker did great work for January 6th. He made it okay to talk about January 6th.
I'm with him. I'm not a big Hannity fan. I'm a Tucker fan.
Yeah, Hannity's overrated. The wall banger, as Michael Savage used to call him. Casino or Goodfellas?
What do you think, David?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh, great movie.
Two great movies.
I got to go Goodfellas. I mean,
Because you're a good fella. Good fella.
And we'll leave it then. Got to go home.
Judge Warpner or Judge Brown?
Got to go home.
oh, Judge Brown.
Judge Warpner. I like the People's Court, but I'm going with Judge Brown too.
Or
though.
Judge Judy.
Nah, Judge Judy mean, man.
Judge
she's
Judy
mean.
got that money, though.
Yeah, she's mean. I just see old Marco. She's mean.
But appreciate finally get you in the studio. Year in the making to get you on the podcast. We'll have to bring you back to tell more of your story.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you gentlemen making time to come visit us today, and we'll have you back on. And if you want to make any formal announcements, you know the place to come do it to announce any future aspirations. I have a feeling big things are still ahead for you. So thank you for making time for us, both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having David on here. He's been through a life experience, so thank you for letting him speak about
Keep
it.
your head up, man. It's just, welcome to the club.
I know.
Welcome to the club.
I know.
You know, it happens.
Yeah.
All right.
I had to beat the government too. I had to beat the police department.
Yeah. Well, what they've been doing to January 6 people, they've been doing to little guys all throughout, you know, for the last 50, 60, 70 years. So the tactics were not new. They've been using it. They used it on you. They used it on me. Nothing new.
I just wasn't afraid of.
All right. We'll close it out till next
Close
time.
it out. You know what? We ain't gonna close it out like that. Close it out with prayer, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord Jesus, we just pray thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, we just pray for justice right now. And Lord, we just enforce justice in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Help these men and help me in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, we gotta do a pick.